Welcome back to the Elite Brand Clarity Formula series. In this session, we are going to talk about how to identify your personal keywords. But before we jump into your personal keywords, we are going to talk about all of the emotions that are surrounded by the language that we use. The power of our words has the ability to transform not only how we serve, but how other people experience the work that we are doing. So while you are going through these exercises, I challenge you to think deeply about the emotions you're experiencing and how they manifest through your language and actions and interactions with your ideal clients. So, step 3 in the Elite Brand Clarity Formula is to identify personal keywords that will resonate not only with you while you are saying them, but also resonate with your ideal buyers. The perfect personal keywords will answer these questions for you. The first thing you want to think about is, have these words always been a part of you? Are these words that you naturally use day in and day out, whether or not it is subconsciously or verbally in your communication? The number one person talking to you is you. So these are words you already know and use. The second thing is your keywords are going to be connected to your emotions, the ones that fill you up, that fill up your cup and help you continue to do what you are doing well. The third thing that your perfect personal keywords will do is connect you to your ideal clients because your words are ultimately their words and vice versa. If you feel like the keywords that you are selecting don't match your identity and who you are and how you communicate, then it is the wrong set and it is the wrong set of words. And you need to rethink how you are looking at how you communicate, when you communicate, and what you are communicating. The last thing is your perfect personal keywords will include all of your shadow emotions. Not that you will be experiencing those shadow emotions, but your keywords will be a direct result of the emotions that you do not desire to have. And again, the more clear you are about what you have overcome or the pain that you yourself do not want to experience, those are the same things that are helping you steward your ideal clients through their own buyer journey, through their choice to decide that you are the best person to help them overcome those very specific things. One thing or one hesitation that I've noticed a lot of the women that I partner with have is an inherent fear that they might go too deep or they might injure someone else or they might themselves feel or relive the trauma. That is not the headspace that you should be in while going through these exercises. If you think that that might happen, I want to encourage you to journal through what you're experiencing and then look back at it later once you have brought your energy level back down. And that will help you get even more clear about what it is you are called to do and how no one else can do it better than you. It is going to help you figure out how to spend the bulk of your time with clients who need your services because those are their fears and pains and concern as well. In the last video, we talked about that pain to pleasure threshold. Today, we're diving in a little bit deeper because we've got to get some words that give us structure so you can do things like create your sales page or create that funnel that needs to be created to get people through the process so they select you. You see, elite brands are able to do what so many other brands are not able to do successfully. And they have the ability to leverage all emotions. They lean into our shadow emotions and they give us a narrative or a storyline that help us go to joy, which is ultimately what that product or service is designed to do. Some shadow emotions that we all experience as humans are things like envy or shame or guilt when we have that second bite of the cookie, or anger when we realize this is something that we want to solve, but we can't figure out how, or fear. Fear manifests itself in a lot of different ways, like through stall tactics and procrastination. The root of all of those things that we do are outcomes of our fears. Or even sadness for the loss of someone or something, or sadness about an experience that's happened. It's how organizations like MAD and GLAD form. It's because they were sad and angry about what was going on in their communities. They were fearful that it might happen to someone else. So, your ability to lean into all the breadth and depth of our human experience and put it in a thoughtful sequence is going to differentiate you from every other person in your niche, every other practitioner in your industry. So, the science behind emotion and buying habits was spelled out really well in The Psychology of Selling, written by Brian Tracy. And it said that people are 2.5% more likely to take action to avoid something negative, but we also will take action to increase our existing satisfaction. Now, as you build your elite brand and separate yourself from the competition, you need to be able to do both. Your brand messaging and brand strategy should include both types of messaging, and appropriately placing them in a sequence that follows a logical process for what someone might be going through at that time. If you lean too heavily on the 2.5%, then your brand might have a more negative appearing connotation. So it's really important to strike that balance between what people want to avoid and the joy that they want to increase. Another option you could do is only focus on that 1%, but get really great at it. To constantly help people seek, find, and maintain joy is a type of messaging all on its own. But again, we want to be able to have a great mix of the avoidance and the joy emotions in our content. Here are some things shadow emotions should not do in your business and your brand. And I want to do this as a cautionary tale because a lot of business owners that I've partnered with think that shadow emotions should either be avoided, or they think that somehow this will result in manipulation. The smart use of shadow emotions is not about manipulation. It is also not about triggering or re-triggering yourself or your ideal audience. It's not about misdirection. It is not about misleading audiences into buying something that they don't need, or sleight of hand tactics where you tell people something just enough to scare them and then they're forced into a buying decision that might be premature. That's not what you want your brand to be known for. As you think about your shadow emotions, think, how can I present them in a way that is honoring of myself, my brand, and the person who is going to take in this content? Every single thing that you do is either going to add or subtract away from their buying experience. So that is why it's so critically important that you choose your shadow emotions that you're going to focus on and choose your keywords correctly and use them intentionally. What a shadow emotion should do is drive to our innate desires to do better, see better, save time, get more money, increase the quality of life. It's why we lean into fast cars, or the ideal mansion that we see on the Pinterest board, or the family with the white picket fence. These are human desires that stem from fears. We fear being without an automobile, so we want the fastest and bestest automobile. We do not desire to be homeless, so here's a picture of our dream home. We all seek companionship and to leave a legacy, and so maybe we're leaning into what it's like to have an image of a family. Whatever shadow emotion you lean into should directly correlate to the outcomes of the services that you are providing. It's why the diamond industry flourishes in the way that it is. Are diamonds necessary for an engagement? Absolutely not. But it is a physical symbol of the extent to which someone loves you. And the diamond industry puts a really great price tag on it as well. It's why slogans that are associated with getting engaged and then getting married say things like every kiss begins with K or diamonds are a girl's best friend. This is really strategic marketing that helps lean into what our shadow emotions might be and presents the joyous solution. Shadow emotion is being single, perhaps. So if I can get someone to kiss me, then that means they love me. Every kiss begins with K. Or that common mantra that diamonds are a girl's best friend. No one wants to be friendless. No one wants to go through life alone. Isn't it lovely to have a friend that's with you at all times? So, this is how we incorporate shadow emotions into messaging and we don't even realizing it. This is the psychology of branding that needs to be included in your messaging while you build your content, your sales pipeline, and your marketing components. Do this exercise and really think about the shadow emotions that you personally experience and then how it shows up. Also, do this for your ideal buyers as well. For example, my shadow emotion of insert the shadow emotion there shows up and talk about how it shows up. How does it manifest in your world? And then I want you to affirm this emotion because you are going to also be not only affirming yourself, but affirming the emotions that your ideal clients are experiencing. And so you want to say, but I affirm this emotion because without it, this action would not take place. This feeling of wanting to better would not exist. In this example, I did this with one of my clients. And she said that her shadow emotion of fear showed up as perfectionism. It was my job to help her realize while we were going through this exercise that if she does not affirm perfectionism as a shadow emotion of fear, then she wouldn't push to learn more. As a result, she partners with me so I can help her reduce the angst and anxiety around perfectionism while still getting more out of life. So, in this example, we were able to come up with a really great shadow emotion statement that ties directly to her needs and how she intends to serve moving forward. She helps women overcome perfectionism and procrastination and everything else with it. This was the perfect statement because she identified with it. She was talking to herself. Again, are you your avatar? If so, this is an ideal exercise. I wanted to point you to a very specific example off of my sales page to give it some structure, again, to give you some framework. And so you'll see here, I've got a combination. The first one is the 1%. I want to help you increase what you're already doing. Increase your visibility. You're already visible. I want you to be even more visible. You already have a pricing. I want you to increase your pricing or change your pricing model so you continue to grow and flourish. That is that 1% to help you take action. I've also included the 2.5% statement, which says getting out the feast or famine business cycle can be tough, but it doesn't have to be lonely. Now, in that example there, I am talking specifically to our shadow fears of homelessness, of famine, of hunger, of being alone, of owning a business being tough. And I say, I am the solution. It doesn't have to be. Entrepreneurship does not have to be a lonely journey. Let me help you learn what I learned through the process to stabilize. I also talk about my expertise in a way that no one else can. I've worked for billion-dollar businesses and helped them scale and grow. And so if you've not earned that $1 billion, but that's your vision, again, I'm targeting your 1%. Each of these approaches combines shadow emotions with my personal power words, which is what we're going to dive into next. So here are 3 profound questions You can start thinking about when you identify your personal keywords, your personal power words. Question one that I invite you to think about is, what words do you naturally use against you and for you? Now, this question is key because when you think about how you talk to your clients also have an internal dialogue happening as well while you're talking, while you all are having conversation. And so it's your job to figure out how closely what you're saying aligns with them. So, what words do you use for you? And what are your words that you might not say to you that are so kind, but they're also your words? Be very careful that these are not words the world gives you and that they are words you naturally use. The second question is, what words jar your spirit? I intentionally put this question here because if a word or phrase jars your spirit, those words do not belong to you. And those are the words that are either affirming of you or not affirming of you. For example, when one of my clients told me someone called her aggressive, and she said, "But Sybil, I'm not aggressive." And I said, "Well, I believe you." That word jarred her spirit. She has never identified as an aggressive person, and it was not her word, which means since she was building out a buyer persona, that was not the right shadow emotion for her to talk about in her messaging. It's not a word she identifies with, so that might not be a word she has a full understanding of. The words that jar your spirit are words that don't belong to you. They belong to other people, and that is their defense mechanism, their keywords. If you are not accustomed to being called selfish and someone calls you selfish, that is not your word. That word might jar your spirit because you're giving, you're selfless. So dig deep and figure out what words jar your spirit and the context in which those words are used, and figure out how to make sure you do not use them in any of your content. The third and final question is, what words easily bring you joy and empower you? These are your personal keywords. These are words that come to your mind and words that you instantly want to be remembered as and known for. When you think about these words, they are words that help you structure how you do what you do. For example, one of my words is teacher. Another one of my words is advocate. Anytime someone interacts with me, these are things I want them to feel from being around me. I want them to feel like they're being educated and advocated for in their business while they are doing their good works. Within that framework, I also set boundaries around words that I don't want to be associated with. Like, I'm not going to do your homework for you because I'm the teacher. That sort of a thing. So when you're thinking about the words that easily come to you and bring you joy, to say them to yourself, write those down. Maybe get a list of 5 to 7 that make sense for who you are and how you serve and what you want to be remembered for. The last thing that you want to do is build your I am. And your I am statement is going to be the most powerful thing that you do for you in your business. Once you have your I am, this is how you will present to the world. So choose wisely, but also remember it's already inside of you. This exercise is not about creating something or someone that you are not. It is about leaning into all of the best parts of you and then communicating it out to the world in an effective way. So your action steps as we wrap up are to clearly and concisely identify your shadow emotions. Do some homework on you and then figure out how many of those shadow emotions are also your ideal client's emotions. Next, make a list of your joy words. What words affirm you and make you feel good about the work that you do? What 3 or 4 words do you naturally use that always empower you? And then start thinking about your communication strategy. How can you communicate this out to the world? Through your social media posts, through your sales page, through a landing page, through your interactions when you're doing discovery calls, through your questionnaire for your intake sessions. These are the words that, if used appropriately, will automatically increase your sales because they are you. And that means if you are using them appropriately, they're also your ideal clients as well. The difference between a basic brand and an elite brand is that elite brands are able to hear themselves as they desire to be heard. So my last question to you is, how do you hear you? How do you desire to be heard? And how are you going to ensure that people are hearing exactly what you need them to hear? It starts with words, it starts with that emotional connection, and it starts with you knowing how you sound and how you view what you do. All right, so this concludes identifying personal keywords. In the next session, we are going to look at how you test everything that we've just done against your vision for your life, your brand, and your legacy. So I will see you on the other side. Stay tuned for the next video.